The research station Kepler-7 floated in the dark space around a dying star. Dr. Lisa. Morgan pressed her face against the cold window of her lab. Below her, the planet's surface glowed red in the fading starlight. She had been working on this. Digged for 3 months now, and today felt different. Lisa, you need to see this, called her assistant, a tall insect-like alien named Click-Has. His forearms moved quickly over the scanning equipment. The deep sensors found something big down. There. Lisa walked over to the screens. The images showed underground ruins much older than anything they had found before. How old? She asked. At least 10,000 years, said Gen 9, the crystal-like alien who ran the dating equipment. Her voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. But there's something strange. These ruins don't match any known civilization. Lisa felt her heart beat faster. Finding unknown ruins was every archaeologist's dream. What makes them different? Click-Has pulled up more images. The technology is advanced, but the design is completely foreign. And there are these. He pointed to several small, glowing objects in the scans. Crystal storage devices. They're still active after all this time. Active storage crystals from 10,000 years ago? Lisa couldn't hide her excitement. That's impossible. Nothing lasts that long. That's what we thought. 2, said Gen 9. But the energy readings don't lie. These crystals are still working. Lisa looked at the scan results again. The crystals were buried deep in what looked like a command center. We need to get down there and retrieve them. I already called it in, said Click-Has. Commander Sullivan is coming with the Aurora. He should be here tomorrow. Lisa spent the rest of the day studying the scan data. The more she looked, the more questions she had. The architecture was unlike anything in the known galaxy. The crystal placement suggested they were meant to be found. But by whom? The next morning, the Aurora arrived. Commander Jake Sullivan was a typical human military officer, tall, strong, and direct. He brought a full team of specialists with him. Dr. Morgan, he said as he entered the lab. I hear you found something interesting. More than interesting, Lisa replied. These crystals could change everything we know about galactic history. Sullivan studied the scan data. They're in a secure location. We'll need to drill down about 50 meters to reach them. The strange thing is, added Gen 9, similar crystals had been found before. But the Galactic Council always ordered them destroyed. Destroyed? Lisa was shocked. Why would they destroy such important historical artifacts? Click-Has's antenna twitched nervously. The Council classified them as dangerous. They said the crystals contained harmful information that could destabilize galactic peace. Sullivan frowned. That doesn't make sense. Information isn't dangerous by itself. Unless it's information someone doesn't want known, Lisa said quietly. Drilling took 2 days. When they finally reached the crystal chamber, Lisa was the first to go down. The room was perfectly preserved, as if someone had left it yesterday. The crystals sat in a circular arrangement on a control panel that still glowed with soft blue light. Amazing, she whispered into her comm-unit. The preservation is perfect. It's like they were waiting for us. Be careful down there, Sullivan's voice crackled through the speaker. We don't know what kind of security systems might still be active. Lisa approached the central crystal. It was about the size of her fist and pulsed with inner light. As she got closer, the pulsing grew faster. I think it's responding to my presence. Step back, Sullivan ordered. Don't touch anything until we know it's safe. But Lisa was already reaching for the crystal. The moment her fingers touched its surface, the world exploded into light and sound. Images flooded her mind. Massive fleets of ships fleeing through space, entire planets burning, species screaming in terror as they ran from something terrible. Lisa! Sullivan's voice seemed to come from far away. "Lisa, can you hear me?" The images kept coming. She saw the fleeing ships more clearly now. They were alien designs, but familiar somehow. Then she saw what they were running from. Other ships, sleek and deadly, pursuing them with ruthless efficiency. The final image was the clearest. A blue-green planet with a single moon. And the species that lived there, bipedal, with flat faces and forward-facing eyes. They looked exactly like humans. Lisa gasped and pulled her hand away from the crystal. Sullivan was shaking her shoulders. "What happened?" "You were standing there for 10 minutes with your eyes closed. I saw them," she whispered. "The ships. The fleeing aliens. They were running from Earth. They were running from us." "That's impossible," said Click-Has over the com. "Humans only achieved spaceflight 200 years ago." "The crystal showed me something that happened 10,000 years ago," Lisa said. "These aliens were fleeing from humans. From Earth." Sullivan helped her sit down. "Are you sure about what you saw?" "I'm sure." Lisa looked back at the crystal, which was now glowing brighter. "Commander, I think we need to get more crystals. All of them." "Why?" "Because I think we've been lied to about human history. And I think the rest of the galaxy knows it." Gen 9's voice came through the comm, worried and shaking. "Lisa, if what you saw is true, then the Great Silence." "The Great Silence?" Sullivan asked. 10,000 years ago, an entire sector of the galaxy went dark, Click-Has explained. Over 200 star systems just stopped communicating. No one knows why. Lisa stood up, her mind racing. "I think I know why. I think they were running from us." Sullivan looked at the crystal, then at Lisa. "If that's true, then every first contact protocol we know is based on a lie." "Not just first contact," Lisa said quietly. "Everything. Our entire relationship with the galaxy might be built on a deception." The crystal pulsed once more, as if agreeing with her words. In that moment, Lisa realized that their discovery would change everything. The question was the galaxy ready for the truth? Above them, Click-Has and Gem 9 exchanged worried glances. They had hoped this day would never come. But now that it had, there was no going back. The truth was finally coming to light, and it would shake the foundations of everything they thought they knew about humans and their place in the galaxy. Captain Ryan Brooks stood in the briefing room of the research station, looking at the star map on the wall. Red dots marked the locations where similar crystals had been found over the past century. All of them had been destroyed by order of the Galactic Council. "We need to move fast," he told his team. "If the Council finds out what we discovered, they'll send ships to stop us." Dr. Lisa Morgan nodded. "I've identified 12 sites where crystals were found but not completely destroyed. If we can get to them before the Council notices, we might learn the full truth." Commander Jake Sullivan studied the map. "Some of these sites are in restricted space. We'll need to be careful." "Careful won't be enough," said Captain Brooks. "We'll need to be invisible." The first site was on a dead world in the Outer Rim. The archaeological team had found 3 crystals there 5 years ago. The Council had ordered them destroyed, but the local commander had hidden one in his personal safe. Lisa connected with the crystal, using the same technique as before. This time, she was ready for the flood of images. The crystal belonged to the Deltari, a proud warrior race that had controlled 7 star systems. In the vision, she saw their first meeting with humans. A human ship, called the New Horizon, had arrived at the Deltari homeworld for peaceful trade talks. Captain Amy Stevens had led the human delegation. The meeting had started well. The Deltari were impressed by human technology and wanted to establish regular trade. But then something went wrong. The Deltari wanted to test human resolve, Lisa explained to the others after the vision ended. They executed a human prisoner. in front of Captain Stevens to show their power. "What happened next?" asked Sullivan. Lisa's face was pale. The humans didn't negotiate. They didn't make threats. They just acted. Within 6 hours, the entire Deltari fleet was destroyed. Their homeworld was under siege. "That's impossible," said Click-Has. "The Deltari had thousands of ships." "The crystal doesn't lie," Lisa replied. The Deltari admiral's final message said the humans fought like nothing they had ever seen. They called them demons. The second crystal was found on a mining station in the Corvin system. The Corvins had been a warrior species that dominated their sector for thousands of years. They had ruled through fear and superior firepower. This crystal contained the testimony of Corvin war leader Dex Var. His fleet of 3,000 ships had been sent to claim human colonies as slave worlds. The Corvins believed humans were weak and newly spacefaring. "The battle lasted 3 days," Lisa said after viewing the crystal. "The Corvins had massive ships and superior numbers, but the humans had something else." "What?" asked Brooks. "They had tactics the Corvins had never seen. Human ships were smaller but faster. They used the Corvin size against them. By the end, the entire Corvin armada was destroyed." Sullivan shook his head. 3,000 ships destroyed by a smaller human force? "The surviving Corvin admiral said something in his final log," Lisa continued. "He said they had awakened, something that should have remained sleeping." The third crystal was the most disturbing. It came from the hegemony, a collective consciousness that had assimilated dozens of species across the galaxy. They had tried to forcibly integrate human colonies into their collective mind. The hegemony had never failed to assimilate a species. Lisa explained. They had technology that could overwrite individual consciousness and make entire populations part of their collective. "But it didn't work on humans?" asked Brooks. "Worse than that. Human minds proved immune to their control. But more than that, human thoughts acted like a virus in the collective. Ideas of individuality and free will spread through the hegemony like wildfire." The crystal showed the final days of the hegemony. Their collective consciousness was breaking apart as billions of assimilated minds suddenly remembered what it was like to be individuals. The hegemony didn't just fail to conquer humans. They were destroyed by the very concept of human thought. The collective's final message was a warning to all species, Lisa said. They said humans were more dangerous than any weapon because they could destroy you with ideas. Each crystal told a similar story. The Vorthan crystalline empire had tried to claim human worlds for their expansion. The humans had responded by turning the Vorthan's own crystal technology against them, shattering their worlds from within. The Nexus Federation had attempted to blockade human space, believing they could starve the humans into submission. The humans had broken the blockade and then systematically destroyed every Nexus world, leaving only empty systems behind. "I'm seeing a pattern," said Sullivan after they had viewed 6 crystals. "Every species that attacked humans first was completely destroyed. Not just destroyed," Lisa corrected. "Erased. The humans didn't just win battles, they eliminated entire civilizations." The most important crystal was found on an abandoned space station in the neutral zone. It belonged to the Watchers, an ancient species that had observed the galaxy for millions of years. "The Watchers saw everything," Lisa said after connecting with their crystal. "They recorded the truth about what really happened." The vision from the Watcher crystal was different from the others. Instead of showing single battles, it showed the bigger picture. The galaxy had been united in fear of the rapidly expanding human species. A secret alliance had formed between dozens of major civilizations. They called it the Containment Protocol, Lisa explained. Every major species in the galaxy agreed to work together to stop human expansion. "Stop it how?" asked Brooks. "By any means necessary." They tried economic warfare first, then sabotage, then direct military action. When nothing else worked, they decided on genocide. The final part of the Watcher Crystal showed the truth that had been hidden for 10,000 years. The human expansion hadn't been aggressive conquest. It had been a desperate fight for survival against a galaxy-wide conspiracy to exterminate humanity. The attacks on human colonies, the mysterious plagues, the accidents that destroyed human ships, none of it was natural, Lisa said. It was all part of a coordinated effort to wipe out humanity before we could become a threat. So when humans fought back, double quotes Sullivan began. They were defending themselves, Lisa finished. Every species that was destroyed had participated in the attempt to commit genocide against humanity. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The peaceful first contact that had happened 200 years ago hadn't been a discovery. It had been a carefully planned deception by the survivors of humanity's defensive war. The species we know today, said Brooks slowly, they're the descendants of the ones who tried to destroy us? Some of them, Lisa nodded. Others are new species that evolved after the Great Silence. But the major governance? They all know. The truth. Clickhaz had been quiet throughout the briefing. Now he spoke up, his voice shaking. The Galactic Council meetings we attend, the trade agreements we sign, the cultural exchanges, it's all been a lie? Not a lie, said Lisa. A carefully constructed deception designed to keep humans from remembering what we're really capable of. Sullivan stood up. We need to get this information to Earth immediately. No, said Brooks. First, we need to make sure we have all the evidence. Because when this comes out, the galaxy is going to panic. Lisa looked at the remaining crystals. They had collected. There's something else. The crystals were designed to only work with human neural patterns. The aliens who made them wanted humans to find the truth eventually. Why? Asked Sullivan. Because they knew the deception couldn't last forever. And when humans finally learned the truth, they wanted us to understand that we weren't the monsters. We were the victims who fought back. As they prepared to return to Earth with their evidence, none of them realized that their activities hadn't gone unnoticed. Deep in the Galactic Council chambers, emergency sessions were being called. The worst fears of the alien governments were coming true. Humanity was starting to remember. Intelligence Officer Sam Rodriguez sat in his office on Earth, staring at the files spread across his desk. The evidence from the crystals was damning, but it raised more questions than it answered. If humanity had been so powerful 10,000 years ago, why did they forget? And why had the aliens waited so long to make contact again? There's something we're missing, he said to Dr. Lisa Morgan, who had returned from the dig site 3 days ago. The timeline doesn't add up. Lisa looked tired. She hadn't slept well since viewing the crystals. What do you mean? Look at this. Sam pointed to a chart on his wall. The Great Silence happened 10,000 years ago. But humans didn't achieve spaceflight until 200 years ago. What happened in between? Maybe we lost the technology somehow, Lisa suggested. War, natural disaster, plague. Or maybe someone made sure we lost it, Sam said quietly. He had been investigating the silence protocols, coded references he had found in intercepted alien communications. The more he dug, the more he realized the conspiracy was much bigger than anyone had imagined. Commander Jake Sullivan arrived with Captain Ryan Brooks. They brought more disturbing news. The peaceful first contact story we all learned in school is completely false, Sullivan announced. I've been reviewing historical records. The aliens didn't discover us 200 years ago. They had been watching us for thousands of years. Watching and waiting, Brooks added. The timing of first contact wasn't coincidental. They waited until humanity had forgotten its true nature. Sam pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's history. I've been analyzing patterns in human development. Look at this. The display showed major events in human history. Wars, plagues, natural disasters, all marked with precise timing. The Black Death in medieval Europe, Sam pointed to a data point. The volcanic eruption that caused the year without. Summer, the Spanish flu pandemic. The mysterious collapse of several advanced civilizations throughout history. Natural disasters, Lisa said. What's your point? None of them were natural, Sam replied. I found trace evidence of alien technology at every major catastrophe in human history. They weren't just watching us. They were actively keeping us from advancing too quickly. The room fell silent. Brooks was the first to speak. You're saying the aliens have been manipulating human development for thousands of years. Not just manipulating, Sam said. Controlling. Every time humanity got close to rediscovering space travel, something happened to set us back. Sullivan studied the timeline. The Renaissance was cut short by plague. The Industrial Revolution was slowed by mysterious accidents. Even the space race in the 20th century faced unusual setbacks. But why? Asked Lisa. If they wanted to control us, why make contact at all? Sam switched the display to show recent history, because they realized they couldn't keep us down forever. Human technology was advancing too fast. So they decided to try a different approach. Controlled contact, Brooks realized. They revealed themselves on their terms, presenting themselves as newly discovered species. Exactly. They hoped that by controlling the narrative of first contact, they could prevent humanity from ever learning the truth about our past. Lisa felt sick. So every alien ambassador on Earth, every trade agreement, every cultural exchange, it's all been a lie? Not a lie, Sam corrected. A carefully constructed deception. The aliens we know today are mostly descendants of the survivors. They've been playing a long game, waiting for humanity to forget. Commander Sullivan activated his secure communicator. I'm calling an emergency meeting with the Defense Council. They need to know about this. Wait, Sam said. There's more. The conspiracy isn't just historical. It's still active. He pulled up recent intelligence reports. The pirate attacks on our shipping lanes, the mysterious failure of the Jupiter, defense grid, the sabotage of the Mars terraforming project. All alien operations, Brooks guessed. All part of something called Operation Eternal Cage, Sam confirmed. I intercepted communications between the Zephyrian Council and the Vorthan Assembly. They're planning to use an engineered plague to reduce human population to what they call manageable levels. The blood drained from Lisa's face. They're planning genocide. Again. The plan is scheduled to begin in 3 months, Sam continued. They want to weaken humanity while maintaining the illusion of peaceful coexistence. Sullivan was already on his communicator, calling in emergency protocols. This is Commander Sullivan. I need immediate contact with President Carter. Priority. 1. While Sullivan made his calls, Sam showed them the most disturbing evidence. I've been tracking alien agents on Earth and human colonies. They're not just diplomats and traders. They're intelligence operatives. How many? Asked Brooks. Thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. They've been monitoring our military capabilities, our population centers, our technological development. Everything they need to know to carry out their plan. Lisa looked at the faces of the alien operatives on the screen. Some of them she recognized. Diplomats she had met at conferences, traders who visited the research stations, even some of the scientists she had worked with. Click has, she whispered. Gem 9, they knew. They knew what we would find in those crystals. They've been reporting our progress to their governments, Sam confirmed. Every discovery, every breakthrough, every piece of evidence we found, they knew about it before we did. The secure communicator crackled to life. President Helen Carter's voice filled the room. Commander Sullivan, I'm reading your preliminary report. Is this intelligence confirmed? Yes, Madam President. The evidence is overwhelming. We've been living a carefully constructed lie for 2 centuries. And the current threat? Active and immediate. They're planning to implement their final solution within 3 months. There was a long pause. When President Carter spoke again, her voice was cold. Gentlemen, Dr. Morgan, I want you to understand something. The human species has survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and natural disasters. We have not survived for thousands of years just to be eliminated by a conspiracy. What are your orders, Madam President? Asked Sullivan. First, we verify this intelligence independently. Second, we quietly mobilize our defenses. Third, we prepare for the possibility that our peaceful era is about to end. Sam looked at his colleagues. Madam President, there's something else. The aliens aren't just planning to attack us. They're planning to do it while maintaining the illusion of friendship. Meaning, they want to eliminate humanity while making it look like natural causes or accidents. They're hoping to avoid triggering the response that destroyed their ancestors. President Carter's voice was deadly quiet. They're hoping we've forgotten what we're capable of. Yes, Madam President. Then they're about to learn a very painful lesson. The human species may have forgotten its history, but we haven't forgotten how to survive. The communication ended, leaving the room in tense silence. Outside, the daily life of Earth continued normally. People went to work, children played in parks, and alien diplomats attended their regular meetings. But deep in the government buildings, emergency protocols were being activated. The military was quietly moving into position. And for the first time in 2 centuries, humanity was preparing for war. Lisa looked out the window at the city below. What happens now? Now we prepare, said Sullivan. Because when the truth comes out, the galaxy is going to panic. And when they panic? Asked Brooks. Sam checked his weapon systems display. They'll make the same mistake their ancestors made. They'll try to destroy us first. Will we be ready? Lisa asked. Sullivan's smile was cold. Dr. Morgan, humanity has been ready for 10,000 years. We just forgot we were ready. As night fell over Earth, similar conversations were happening in government buildings across human space. The age of peaceful coexistence was about to end, and humanity was awakening to its true nature. In the depths of space, alien fleets were already moving toward human worlds. The conspiracy that had lasted for millennia was about to reach its final phase. But this time, the aliens would discover that their careful plans had one fatal flaw. They had given humanity 2 centuries to develop new technologies and new strategies. The sleeping giant was about to wake up, and it would be stronger than ever before. President Helen Carter stood before the United Human Federation Assembly, her face calm, but her eyes blazing with controlled anger. Behind her, a massive screen displayed images from the crystals, ancient fleets fleeing in terror, destroyed, worlds and testimonies of genocide. Citizens of humanity, she began, her voice carrying to every human world. Today, we learned the truth about our past. And today, we learned the truth about our present. The assembly hall was silent. Representatives from every human colony watched as President Carter revealed the conspiracy that had shaped their history for 10,000 years. The species we call our allies, our trading partners, our friends, they are the descendants of those who tried to exterminate us. And they are planning to finish what their ancestors started. The reaction was immediate and intense. Across human space, people demanded answers. On Earth, crowds gathered outside alien embassies. On Mars, human workers walked off their jobs at alien-owned facilities. On the outer colonies, human militias began forming. Captain Ryan Brooks stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the news feeds from across human space. The truth was spreading faster than the government could control it. Commander Sullivan, We need to move fast. The aliens will respond to this. They're already responding, Sullivan replied from the communication station. I'm picking up coded transmissions between alien governments. They're activating some kind of emergency protocol. Dr. Lisa Morgan was in the ship's research lab, still working with the crystals. I found something new, she called out. The crystals contain more than just historical records. They have tactical information. What kind of tactical information? Asked Brooks. Defense plans, weapon specifications, strategic weaknesses. It's like the ancient humans left us a manual for fighting the aliens. On the main screen, President. Carter was still speaking. The alien governments have presented us with a choice. They want us to remain ignorant and defenseless while they slowly destroy us. We choose differently. The President's next words sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Effective immediately, all alien diplomatic missions to human worlds are suspended. All alien trade agreements are canceled. All alien personnel have 24 hours to leave human space. Captain Brooks felt a chill run down his spine. She's essentially declaring war on the entire galaxy. No, said Sullivan, reading an intelligence report. She's responding to a war that was already declared against us. The intelligence report revealed the full scope of Operation Eternal Cage. The engineered plague was just the beginning. The aliens had planned to follow it with natural disasters, equipment failures, and accidents that would reduce human population to less than 1 billion people. They weren't planning to destroy us all at once, Sullivan explained. They wanted to do it slowly, over decades, while maintaining the illusion of friendship. Within hours of President Carter's announcement, the alien response began. High Chancellor Vex Thera of the Zephyrian Council called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. The message was broadcast to every species in the galaxy. The humans have chosen to reject peace, Vex Thera announced. They have chosen to embrace their violent nature. The Galactic Council must act to protect civilization from this threat. Dr. Lisa Morgan watched the broadcast with growing anger. They're making us look like the aggressors. They're the ones who planned genocide, but they're claiming we're this threat. It's the same pattern from 10,000 years ago, said intelligence officer Sam Rodriguez, who had joined them on the ship. They attack first, then claim self-defense when we fight back. The Galactic Council's response was swift and decisive. They declared humanity a threat to galactic peace and authorized the use of all necessary force to contain the human threat. Final protocol is active, Sam reported, monitoring alien communications. They're mobilizing fleets from every major species. This isn't a limited operation. They're committing everything they have. Captain Brooks studied the tactical displays. How many ships are we looking at? Conservative estimate? 50,000 vessels. Maybe more. Against how many human ships? Maybe 5,000, if we count everything including cargo haulers. The numbers were overwhelming, but Brooks didn't seem worried. Have you analyzed the tactical data from the crystals? Still working on it, Lisa replied, but I'm seeing patterns. The ancient humans didn't win through superior numbers. They won through superior technology and tactics. And we've had 2 centuries to improve both, Sullivan added. The first test came sooner than expected. A Zephyrian scout fleet arrived at the edge of human space, demanding that the colonies surrender for protective custody. The human response was delivered by Colonel Beth Parker, commanding the Defense Force at the Titan Station. This is Colonel Parker of the Human Defense Force, she transmitted to the alien fleet. You have entered human space without authorization. You have 30 seconds to leave. The Zephyrian commander's response was predictable. Humans, you cannot resist the combined might of the galaxy. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Colonel Parker's reply became legendary across human space. Unknown alien vessel. You seem to be under the impression that you're threatening us. Allow me to correct that misunderstanding. What happened next shocked both sides. The Zephyrian fleet of 12 ships was destroyed in less than 2 minutes. The humans didn't just defeat them. They annihilated them so completely that there was nothing left but debris. How? Asked Vexthera when the news reached the Galactic Council. How did they destroy an entire fleet so quickly? The answer came from the few alien observers who had witnessed the battle. The human ships had used weapons that seemed to ignore shields and armor. The Zephyrian vessels had simply come apart at the molecular level. They've developed new technologies, reported the Vorthan military observer. Weapons we've never seen before. Our standard defenses are useless against them. But the most disturbing report came from the Corvan Intelligence Service. The humans aren't just defending themselves. They're hunting us. Human ships had appeared in the Corvan system, not to attack civilian targets, but to hunt down the descendants of the original conspiracy. Ancient grudges were being settled with surgical precision. They remember, whispered an old Corvan admiral. After 10,000 years, they remember every species that betrayed them. The pattern repeated across the galaxy. Human forces struck at military targets with devastating effectiveness, but they also targeted specific bloodlines and government officials. It was as if humanity had kept a detailed accounting of every crime committed against them. President Carter's next broadcast explained the strategy. We are not seeking conquest. We are seeking justice. Every species that participated in the original conspiracy, every government that supported Operation Eternal Cage, every official who voted for our destruction, they will face the consequences of their actions. The alien governments realized they had made a terrible mistake. They had expected to face the primitive humans of 2 centuries ago. Instead, they were fighting a species that had evolved beyond their worst nightmares. The humans have become something new, reported High Chancellor Vexthera to the Emergency Council session. They combine the tactical brilliance of their ancestors with technologies we don't understand. Then we must strike them now, demanded the Deltari representative, before they become even stronger. With what? Asked the Corvan delegate. They've already destroyed 3 of our scout fleets. Our best ships are helpless against their weapons. The debate continued for hours, but the conclusion was inevitable. The aliens would launch Final Protocol, a coordinated attack against every human world simultaneously. It would be the largest military operation in galactic history. We either destroy them now, or they will destroy us, Vexthara concluded. There is no middle ground. As the alien fleets massed for the final assault, humanity prepared for the ultimate test. The conspiracy that had lasted 10,000 years was about to reach its climax. Dr. Lisa Morgan stood in the command center, watching the tactical displays show thousands of alien ships moving toward human space. Are we ready for this? We've been ready for 10,000 years, replied President Carter, who had arrived to personally oversee the defense. We just forgot we were ready. The final battle was about to begin, and this time there would be no hiding the truth. The galaxy would learn once, and for all what happened when you tried to destroy humanity. As the alien fleets approached, President Carter issued one final warning to the galaxy. You tried to cage us with lies. When that failed, you tried to destroy us with treachery. Now you will learn that humanity's greatest strength isn't our capacity for violence. It's our ability to remember. The war for humanity's survival was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The alien fleets arrived at Earth exactly as planned. 50,000 ships from every major species in the galaxy, coordinated in the largest military operation in galactic history. High Chancellor Vexthera commanded the operation from his flagship, confident that overwhelming numbers would succeed where individual attacks had failed. Begin Final Protocol. he ordered. All fleets attack simultaneously. Show no mercy. The alien armada spread across human space like a dark cloud. Every human world found itself surrounded by hostile ships. On Earth, Captain Ryan Brooks watched from the command center as the enemy fleets took their positions. "They're trying to do it all at once," he reported to President Helen Carter. "Hit every human world simultaneously so we can't coordinate a defense." "Let them try," President Carter replied calmly. "Activate the network." Across human space, something unprecedented happened. Every human ship, every defense station, every weapon platform suddenly began working together as a single coordinated force. The aliens had expected to face scattered human defenders. Instead, they found themselves confronting a unified military machine that responded to threats within human precision. The battle for Earth began when the Zephian fleet opened fire on the orbital defense stations. The human response was immediate and devastating. The ancient weapons that Dr. Lisa Morgan had discovered in the crystals had been rebuilt and improved. The Zephyrian ships didn't just explode, they simply ceased to exist, converted to their component atoms in seconds. "Impossible," breathed Vexthara as he watched his lead squadrons vanish. No weapon should be that powerful. But the horror for the aliens was just beginning. The humans weren't just defending, they were actively hunting. Commander Jake Sullivan led a human fleet that appeared behind the alien formations using technology that shouldn't exist. Human ships seemed to phase in and out of normal space, striking with surgical precision before disappearing again. "There, using dimensional drives," reported the Vorthan science officer. "Technology that's beyond our understanding." "How is that possible?" demanded Vexthara. 200 years ago, they barely had chemical rockets. The answer came from Dr. Lisa Morgan, broadcasting from Earth. "You made one critical mistake," she told the alien fleets. "You assumed we forgot everything. We didn't forget. We just learned to hide what we remembered." The truth was devastating for the aliens. Humanity had never actually lost their advanced technology. They had hidden it, developing it in secret while presenting a facade of primitive spaceflight to the watching galaxy. For 2 centuries, humans had been preparing for this moment. Colonel Beth Parker's forces demonstrated another unpleasant surprise for the aliens. Her ships were equipped with weapons that seemed to think for themselves, adapting to alien defenses faster than any computer should be able to process. "The weapons are learning," reported a terrified Korvan captain. "They're evolving their attack patterns in real time." "That's because they're not just weapons," explained intelligence officer Sam Rodriguez over the open channel. "They're extensions of human consciousness. Every shot fired is guided by human intuition and tactical genius." The battle raged for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The aliens had superior numbers, but humans had superior everything else. Advanced technology, better tactics, and most importantly, a coordination that bordered on telepathic. "They fight as one mind," observed the surviving Deltari commander. "It's like facing a single organism with 50,000 bodies." The turning point came when the human forces stopped merely defending and began their counterattack. Captain Brooks led the Earth Defense Fleet straight into the heart of the alien formation. What should have been suicide became a massacre as human ships tore through alien defenses like they weren't there. "Retreat," ordered Vexthara. "All fleets, retreat immediately." But retreat wasn't an option. Human ships had appeared at every escape route, cutting off the alien forces with the same dimensional technology that had brought them to the battle. The aliens found themselves trapped in a cage of human making. "You wanted to implement final protocol." President Carter's voice echoed across all frequencies. "Consider it implemented. This is your final protocol." The slaughter was methodical and complete. The alien fleets that had taken decades to assemble were destroyed in a matter of hours. But the humans weren't finished. As the last alien ship exploded, human fleets began appearing at alien homeworlds across the galaxy. The message was clear. This wasn't just a defensive victory. This was the beginning of a reckoning that had been 10,000 years in the making. On the Corvin homeworld, the descendants of those who had tried to enslave humanity watched in terror as human ships filled their skies. But the humans didn't attack civilian targets. Instead, they broadcast a simple message. "We remember," said Colonel Parker's voice. "We remember every crime, every betrayal, every attempt at genocide. The guilty will face justice." The Corvin government building was precisely destroyed by a single beam from orbit. The message was clear. Human justice would be swift and exact. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. The Deltari remnants who had hidden for millennia were found and eliminated. The Vorthan Assembly members who had voted for human extinction were arrested and tried for war crimes. The hegemony's successor states were dissolved. But the most devastating moment came when High Chancellor Vex Thera was brought before President Carter aboard his captured flagship. The Zephyrian leader, once proud and arrogant, now trembled before the human president. "You cannot do this," he pleaded. "The Galactic Council will never accept human dominance." President Carter's smile was cold. "Chancellor, the Galactic Council ceased to exist the moment you declared war on humanity. What you're looking at now is the new galactic order." She gestured to the holographic display showing the galaxy. Over half the systems that had once been part of the anti-human conspiracy now showed human colonial flags. "You tried to cage us," President Carter continued. "When that failed, you tried to destroy us. But you made one fatal error in your planning." "What error?" Vex Thera whispered. "You gave us 200 years to prepare, 200 years to develop our technology, perfect our strategies, and plan our response. Most importantly, you gave us 200 years to remember what we are." Dr. Lisa Morgan entered the chamber, carrying one of the ancient crystals. The crystals weren't just historical records, she explained. They were a message from our ancestors, a warning that this day would come. "What warning?" asked Vex Thera. "That humanity's greatest strength has never been our weapons or our technology," Lisa replied. "It's our memory. We never forget those who wrong us, and we never forgive those who try to destroy us." Intelligence Officer Sam Rodriguez provided the final revelation. Every alien species that participated in the original conspiracy has been eliminated or placed under human oversight. Every government that supported Operation Eternal Cage has been dissolved. Every official who voted for our destruction has faced justice. "The galaxy will resist," Vex Thera said desperately. "Other species will rise against you." "What other species?" asked President Carter, showing him the galactic map. "The ones who tried to exterminate us are gone. The ones who remained neutral are now applying for human protection. The ones who were created after the Great Silence are discovering that humans make better allies than enemies." The truth was devastating for Vex Thera. In a single day, humanity had not just survived the greatest threat in galactic history. They had used it as an opportunity to reshape the entire galaxy according to their vision. "This is tyranny," he whispered. "No," said President Carter. "This is justice. For 10,000 years, you and your ancestors believed you could control humanity through lies and manipulation. When that failed, you tried genocide. Both approaches have now been proven unsuccessful." Commander Sullivan entered with the final report. "All hostile fleets have been eliminated. All conspiracy governments have surrendered or been replaced. The galaxy is secure." President Carter nodded. "Excellent. Begin Phase 2. "Phase 2? Asked Vex Thera. "Reconstruction," she explained. Now that we've removed the corrupt governments that tried to destroy us, we can begin building a better galaxy. One based on truth instead of deception, cooperation instead of conspiracy. As Vex Thera was led away to await trial, President Carter looked out at the stars. The galaxy was quiet now, but it was the quiet of peace, not the quiet of fear. Dr. Lisa Morgan joined her at the window. What happens now? Now we make sure this never happens again, President Carter replied. We establish a galactic government based on human principles, freedom, honesty, and the protection of innocent species. And if anyone challenges us? President Carter's smile was both warm and terrifying. Then they'll learn the same lesson every other species has learned. Humanity can be the galaxy's greatest friend or its most implacable enemy. The choice is theirs. Years later, historians would mark this day as the beginning of the human age, a time when truth replaced deception, when justice replaced conspiracy, and when the galaxy finally learned the most important lesson of all: never anger humans again. The sleeping giant had awakened, and it would never sleep again.